After hitting several islands in the Caribbean, Tropical Storm Elsa reaches Cuba, where some 180,000 people were preventively evacuated. The Venezuelan president, Nicolás Maduro Moros, issued an ultimatum Sunday to the Covax global mechanism for fair vaccine distribution, denouncing discrimination against his country. In Nigeria, a group of armed individuals stormed a secondary school in the Nigerian state of Kaduna and kidnapped dozens of students. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your host, Gladys Quesada, and now we begin with the news. In Cuba, 180,000 people had already been evacuated before Tropical Storm Elsa reached the island this Monday morning. In its course, the storm has hit the islands of Barbados, St. Vincent, Haiti, Jamaica, St. Lucia, Puerto Rico, and the Dominican Republic, causing floods and damage to homes and crops. 2 people are reported dead in Dominican Republic and 1 in St. Lucia. Elsa touched the Cuban coast in the early hours of Monday, Cuban authorities reported. Preparations had been hectic over the weekend in the island through its civil defense system and social organizations to evacuate those at risk and ensure essential supplies. Elsa is expected to move across central and western Cuba later today, as the provinces of Cienfuegos, Matanzas, Camagüey, Ciego de Ávila, Santi Espíritus, Villa Clara, Mayabeque, and Havana are under a hurricane and tropical storm warnings. And now we go live with our correspondent, Diego Martin, who brings us more details about the weather conditions in Havana, Cuba, as the tropical storm Elsa approaches the Cuban capital. Hello, Diego.
Hello, TeleSUR English. We are here in Havana. I am standing on top of the Malecón, an iconic landmark of the Cuban capital. Hurricane Elsa struck the eastern region of the country and is now expected to arrive at Havana at about 1 or 2 p.m. in the afternoon in the local time. As you can see from the sea, it is mildly agitated, so there is no risk of flooding yet. But by the arrival of the storm at 2 p.m., there could be several incursions of the sea in the mainland, inland, and could affect the civilian population nearby and the infrastructure. Authorities have made the area secured so that no one is affected and that there is no fear of loss of human life. We are, however, concerned a bit for the implications that this storm might have on agriculture and other important sectors of the economy in the country. More on this story as it develops. I am Diego Martin for TeleSUR English in Havana.
We thank Diego Martin, our correspondent, for these latest details about the storm Elsa. And now we move on to other topics. The former commanders of the Bolivian Air Force and Navy were arrested Sunday for their alleged involvement in the coup against Evo Morales in October 2019. General Jorge Gonzalo Terceros and Admiral Gonzalo Harjuri Rada are being investigated for the crimes of sedition, terrorism, and conspiracy. In addition, last May, a criminal court of instruction expanded the investigation against both officers for unconstitutional actions and breach of military duties. With these 2 arrests, there are now 5 high-ranking military officers in custody in the context of the coup. Also in preventive detention are former de facto President Janine Áñez, who in November 2019 proclaimed herself president, and several former officials of Áñez's dictatorship. The day will come when the United States shall recognize that a new world is in the making, Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro Moros said on national TV on Sunday.
The day will come when we will meet again in brotherhood, cooperation, friendship, mutual respect, the United States of America and Venezuela, but above all the elite of the United States of America, the military elites, business police, financial communication, the elites who govern, who run that country, someday will understand that a new world has been born, a pluripolar, multicentric world, and that culture must be respected. The diversity, characteristics and specificity of all the peoples of the world, and there will Venezuela with its dignity, with its tricolor flag.
82 victims had suffered eye injuries by the Mobile Anti-Riot Squadron, or SMAT, in the framework of the nationwide strike that began on April 28, human rights defenders in Colombia said. According to the non-governmental group Temblores, 60% of eye injuries have been identified in Bogotá, but they also have been recorded in the departments of Valle del Cauca and Cundinamarca, as well as in the cities of Pasto and Popayán. The director of the Action Program for Equality and Social Inclusion of Los Andes University, Juliana Bustamante, stated that shooting in the eyes is deliberate, seeking to punish those participating in protest. In another account, cases raised to 200 the resistance movement against eye injuries claims. A bridge under construction in Mexico City threatens ancestral wetlands of Xochimilco, a group of environmentalists denounced on Monday. The Xochimilco wetland is registered in the Ramsar Convention, an international treaty on the conservation and wise use of wetlands. It was also declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1987 and has been considered a natural protected area since 1992, which specifically prohibits infrastructure works and logging. Since mid-2020, the bridge construction opened a legal battle between the government of Mexico City and the coordination of native peoples and neighborhoods of Xochimilco.
The wetland is a temperature regulator. It is a place where water is captured that could later reach the wells and from which we supply our homes. It is a place where many endemic species and many migratory birds live.
I believe that the most serious problem is that it opens the door to promoting the destruction of any ecosystem, no matter how protected, with different national and international tools.
And we'll be right back after this very short break, so don't go away. Welcome back to From the South. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro Moros issued an ultimatum Sunday to the Covax global mechanism for fair vaccine distribution, denouncing discrimination against his country. Covax, an alliance of United Nations and the World Health Organization with private charities, had promised 100 million doses by the end of March. By the beginning of July, it had supplied just 95 million.
Either they send us the vaccines or they give us our money back. Full stop. And if they give us our money back, we will know where to go to buy them, because we have already talked to global multilateral institutions to do that. Either they send us the vaccines or they give us our money back. But enough of the Covax system's mockery of the Venezuelan people. I say it publicly, the Covax system has failed the people of Venezuela. I don't know if it has failed the people of the world, and they are not giving us an answer. I have given precise instructions to the Executive Vice President, who is the President of the Covax Presidential Commission, to act this week and to give the Covax system an ultimatum.
President Maduro also reported on the state of Venezuela's vaccination campaign.
Today, I can say, at the level of vaccination that Venezuela has reached today, 2,508,200 vaccinated, which represents 11.4% of the population.
And the fourth ministerial meeting of the Stockholm Initiative for Nuclear Disarmament started this Monday in Madrid, Spain. 16 countries were invited by ministers of foreign affairs of Spain, Sweden and Germany. The meeting will focus on analyzing the current situation of the international system of disarmament and nuclear non-proliferation. The background to his encounter is that since Donald Trump took office as President of the United States, that country withdrew from the 1987 intermediate-range nuclear forces, leaving in place only the 2010 New Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, New START, in place to limit nuclear weapons, and which was recently expanded until 2026. About 572 migrants were rescued in the Mediterranean Sea during the last few days and are on board of the humanitarian ship Ocean Viking. The aid agency SOS Mediterranean says it has saved a total of 572 people in the Mediterranean Sea. In recent days, those rescued include more than 100 children, the vast majority of them unaccompanied. The International Organization for Migration reports the deaths of 866 migrants since the start of this year. Last year, the death toll was more than 1,200. And hackers are demanding a $70 million ransom paid to restore data stolen to hundreds of companies worldwide. Frank-team research is underway in several countries as a group identified as REvil is the main suspect in the hacking of hundreds of small and medium-sized companies. While mainstream media automatically linked this group to Russia, U.S. authorities did not back that claim. The cyber group broke into Kaseya, a Miami-based information technology firm, and used their access to breach some of its clients' information, setting off a chain reaction that quickly paralyzed the computers of hundreds of firms worldwide. Those hit included schools, small public sector bodies, travel and leisure organizations, credit unions, and accountants.
What the federal authorities are very, very confident, it was the REvil group, which is, it's not state affiliated with Russia. So, they don't believe it's the Russian quote unquote government or the intelligence agencies. It's a worldwide hacker affiliate or hacker associate, if you will, that has people all around the world. And that's whom they are extremely confident is behind this.
And the head of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis, underwent surgery for an inflamed large colon on Sunday. 85-year-old, the pontiff was admitted to Rome's Gemelli University Hospital for a scheduled surgery for symptomatic diverticular stenosis of the colon, a condition that causes potentially painful inflammation on the colon walls and which tend to multiply with age, a Vatican communique said. Earlier on Sunday, Francis performed the weekly Angelus prayer at St. Peter's Square, and in the afternoon, the pontiff arrived at the clinic accompanied by his driver and one close aide. In recent years, the Pope has had to cancel some public appearances and sometimes has difficulty walking, media reported. And China rejected Monday alleged slanders and false reports from the United States and the United Kingdom on Beijing's actions and the role in international organizations. U.S. President Joe Biden on Friday had urged Western governments to work together to challenge what he called abuses by autocratic states such as China and Russia.
Upholds and practices the multilateralism in real sense. The multilateralism that China advocates is a win-win cooperation, not a zero-sum game. It means fairness and justice, not bullying and overbearing. The multilateralism that China advocates focuses on actions, not words, and it is about respect for diversity, not self-reliance. China, together with developing countries, will continue to actively participate in the work of international organizations and contribute to the promotion of international cooperation and the practice of a true multilateralism. The words of some US and UK personnel are slander. The international community has its own judgment on the questions who engages in hegemony and unilateralism in the international community, and who uses international organizations for its own interests and abandons the organizations when there is divergence, and who use financial hegemony to suppress other countries.
1 dead and 29 were injured after an explosion at a foam and plastic pellet manufacturing factory in Bangkok. Officials reported the explosion took place in a plastic factory near Thai's international airport, killing at least one firefighter and wounding 29 people. Helicopters still continue to dump fire suppression foam on the site. 500 residents near the area were moved to 2 shelters, including a nearby school about 9 kilometers away. According to Lieutenant General Ampom Borampomporn, the public have been ordered to stay away from a radius of at least 500 meters around the blast site. The cause of the explosion is still under investigation. And we continue. Over 1,000 Afghan soldiers crossed over the border to Tajikistan, fleeing Taliban fighters. 1,037 troops sought out refuge in Tajikistan when Taliban fighters launched an offensive in northeastern Afghanistan. The Taliban, an Islamic armed group created by the United States in the 1970s, is now set to control the country, following the US and NATO's withdrawal after 20 years of fruitless military intervention. On Monday, the Taliban warned the United States not to leave any troops under the guise of an advisory role, as it was announced. "45 people have been killed after a military plane crashed in southern Philippines. Dozens more are reported to have been pulled out alive from the burning wreckage, with some critically injured. The plane was carrying more than 90 people when it overshot the runway on Jolo Island. 5 people who were on board are still missing, and military rescue workers are still conducting a search operation around the site. Philippines Army officials said there was no sign that the aircraft had been attacked. And we have more stories coming up after this final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In Nigeria, a group of armed individuals stormed a secondary school in the Nigerian state of Kaduna and kidnapped dozens of students. According to local media, the armed group stormed the Bethel Secondary School at around 1 p.m. local time and fired shots to intimidate civilians and security guards. The number of students abducted has not yet been confirmed. Kaduna has recently faced a series of attacks by armed groups, including assaults on schools. In 2020, 937 people were killed, and another 1,972 were abducted in insurgent attacks. Egypt has officially unveiled a strategic Mediterranean naval base. The naval base, which is set to secure shipping lines in the Mediterranean Sea, was officially opened by the country's President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi. The new military base, located 255 kilometers west of Alexandria, towards the border with Libya, will be focused on securing the country's northern and western front. Egypt has 3 other naval bases in the Mediterranean and 1 in the Red Sea. A South African top court has agreed to hear former President Jacob Zuma's challenge against his legal sentence on contempt charges. The country's constitutional court sentenced Zuma to 15 months in jail on Tuesday for failing to appear at the corruption inquiry led by Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo in February. Zuma was initially given until the end of Sunday to hand himself in, after which police will be obliged to arrest him. But the court has agreed to hear his application on July 12. And thousands have taken to the streets in Burkina Faso's capital, Ouagadougou, to protest against rising jihadist killings. The protests came after 130 people were killed last month in a jihadist massacre. The protesters demanded the government to ensure security from the attackers and that thousands of people displaced by fighting be allowed to return to their homes peacefully. The West African country has been facing an increase in attacks by jihadist groups linked to Al-Qaeda or the Islamic State since 2015.
This is the place for us to call on the head of state to take the problem seriously, because you know that is inadmissible that people can walk around with impunity in our territory, committing despicable acts and live serenely.
Ethiopian soldiers captured by the Tigray Defense Force have walked towards Mekele Rehabilitation Center in the capital of the Tigray region. According to the Tigray Defense Forces, more than 7,000 captive Ethiopian soldiers have walked from Abid Eshir, about 75 kilometers southwest of Mekelle, for 4 days. The rebels marched into the city this week after local officials and federal government troops pulled out, and the government of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has since declared a unilateral ceasefire. At least 4 people have lost their lives after one of the worst forest fires ran ablaze in Cyprus. The fire, which started on Saturday afternoon, destroyed homes and forced thousands of people to be evacuated from their villages. Several countries have deployed firefighting aircraft to the Mediterranean island to try and put out the fire. The fire has been described to be the largest since 1974. Cyprus local media has reported that a 67-year-old man had been arrested on suspicion starting the blaze.
I saw the fire approaching from the top of the mountains. Immediately, we took the car of my child and we drove towards Pharmacas. We informed the authorities that there was a fire, but unfortunately, the planes and the fire services arrived very late.
And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm your host, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.